Hello peeps and welcome back to another one with us, the Review Bros, and today we're going to be taking a look at Radical Riot by the guys over at American Supplements. It says here, intense energy, extreme focus and massive strength. It's listed as a hardcore pre-workout. So what will we be getting ourselves into here as we cover the usuals, taste, price, label, effects, all coming at you. Will it be your next pre-workout? Let's find out together right now. And if you are new here and you happen to like our videos, please do hit the like button, hit the sub button, tick the bell icon. So we try and put out about 3 reviews a week. But today, let's get radical. Taste and Mixability is the first segment that we always cover, and we've got dragon fruit flavour for this review. I've obviously used it several times, but let's give it a go right now. I chuck up any other flavours on the screen because it does appear to come in quite a few, which is always a good thing. Mixability, not too bad. I mean, not the best, not the worst. I'd say around about average. Generally speaking, it looks like it's mixed pretty damn solidly, but in most cases you're always going to get a little bit at the bottom. But let's see how it tastes. Yeah, definitely tastes dragon fruity. It's a nice sweet flavour. It's not overly weak. It's also not overly potent, although it is more towards the stronger end. But there's no nastiness coming from the back end, so that's the main thing here. So yeah, overall pleasant, nice sweet dragon fruit. Dragon fruit, that's a new one. Dragon fruit flavour. It's pleasant. I've got no complaints. I'll give it one more sip and then I'll drop you a little score out of 10. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Like, it's good. It's good enough. It's just not incredible. But still well above average. Let's move into price. So if you do want to pick this up after today's review and it sounds right for you, head over to american-supps.com where you can use code BROS10 to knock off 10% off of this 20 serving tub. You can pick it up for £22.57. And when you work it out per the serving, it comes to £1.13 a go. Now, we have a price scale that measures how expensive pre's are, where a 5 out of 10 is bang average price point on the market. This comes in at a 7.5 out of 10, so it's much cheaper than an average pre-workout on the market. So all we've got to do now is work out what exactly, what are we getting for that money? And is it ultimately worth it? Let's get into the label and then the effects. Okay, label time. So will we be having a Radical Riot on this pre-workout? Let's find out together. So we got ourselves a 17-gram serving amount, which for what it's worth is probably slightly above the average if you're someone that likes to factor that into your price point or your decision making when you're buying a pre. But first up, we've got L-citrulline malate at 6.5 grams. Now, we don't know the ratio. It could be 2 to 1 or 1 to 1, but given that they've not specified it, we have to assume worst case scenario and say 1 to 1 ratio. So with that being said, we're getting a little over 3 grams of pure L-citrulline, which, as we like to say on the channel, and as research shows, 3 grams is the minimum dose you can get away with it actually still having effect. So what it does, it's an amino acid. It should bump up your nitric oxide levels production within your body, increasing blood flow, nutrient delivery, and therefore pump. So we'll take it, even though it is on the lower end. At least we've got some there. Then we've got L-arginine alpha-ketoglutarate at 2 grams, respectable dose, and this might possibly be why they've lowered the L-citrulline to the bottom end dose, is because they've got the L-arginine to sort of synergize with it, potentially, and it is going to help with further bumping up your nitric oxide levels. It's going to help with your endurance, muscular contractions, athletic performance in the gym ultimately. Nice. It's a bit of a dated ingredient, but don't mind it. I've always had pretty good results from it when it's dosed respectably, which it seems to be here. So we've got beta-alanine at 1800 milligrams, another amino acid, dosed smack bang half of what we would typically like to see as the lowest daily dose, which would be obviously 3.2 grams. So yeah, it's put in pre-workouts because it should help with your endurance when it builds up in your system and help to buffer lactic acid. Although with it being in here at a lower than desired dose, it's obviously going to take longer to hit that saturation point. So that is the downside of that. The upside, however, potential upside, is that it could avoid the itchy tingle effect that some people do not like. So that could be what this company have done here. They didn't want to not use it, but they also didn't want to put it in there at the full dose to risk putting certain people off. So maybe they've gone, okay, well, let's put it in there, but at a moderate dose. So they're still getting some benefit of it, or heading towards getting benefit of it, but not giving everyone an unbearable experience to the people that don't like the itchy tingle effect. I feel like I said a lot of words there just to explain a basic point, but you get where I'm coming from. So yeah, not the most ideal dose, but yeah, I'll have to let you know in the effects if we get that itchy tingle effect. Then we've got betaine hydrochloride, 1500 milligrams, not to be confused with betaine anhydrous because it has a totally different set of benefits. The main one being here is simply digestion, so it's going to help your gut. Then we move down to N-acetyl-L-tyrosine at 1 gram, which is a respectable dose. It's the more water-soluble version of L-tyrosine and therefore thought to be more bioavailable, although data actually shows the opposite. It shows that L-tyrosine is generally better. However, acetyl-L-tyrosine will still get the job done, and it's in a decent dose, decent enough. So it's going to help with your focus, concentration and mood. Then we've got guarana extract at 500 milligrams, a really nice dose there. Obviously from the guarana tree, it's a stimulant, similar to caffeine, and it does actually yield a small amount of caffeine, not much at all. It's another stimulant, so naturally it's going to help to increase your energy levels, focus and drive, and we like to see it. We always love a bit of guarana in our pre's. Then we've got caffeine at 300 milligrams, which is around about the average dose, you know, maybe on the lower end of what we would see as an average dose in pre's. It's a couple of energy drinks worth, it's a few really strong cups of coffee, you know, instant coffees that is. So it's the main stimulant, it's going to wake you up and get you moving, and it will have a synergistic effect to some degree with that guarana extract. Then we've got green tea extract, 100 milligrams, that's got antioxidant properties, it's going to help to bump up your metabolism and help with weight loss. It's a healthy ingredient and it does yield a very small amount of caffeine, a couple of milligrams at most. Then we move down to ginkgo biloba extract, 100 milligrams, which sounds very cool and exciting. That is from a tree in China. It's from the leaves. It's obviously processed and extracted, and the benefits are antioxidant properties, blood flow, and focus. It can help with all of those things and more. So yeah, and it's an okay dose. It should have effect. Then we wrap off with estrogen at 100 milligrams, which I've got to say is a large dose for estrogen. We normally see half of that, 50. And even 25 milligrams is becoming more of a common dose. So yeah, they've definitely gone on the upside here, really leaning into that digestion element, which we love to see. So yeah, I do like the pre, it's very interesting. In an ideal world, I'd like to see the beta-alanine dosed higher. And do you know what, I think that's, maybe a bit more L-citrulline. Apart from that, I'm not too offended by it. Like, I don't think there's too many holes in it and negatives. I think it's quite interesting, and ultimately it will just depend how it comes together in the gym. I think for that price point, you know, respectable. And that's all I'll say there, otherwise I'll have nothing to talk about in the effects. So let's get down the gym and I'll be right back in a couple of hours and I'll give you my full experience. Okay, so what do we think of Radical Riot in the real world, in the gym? What were the effects like? Well, let's start off from the very beginning with that beta-alanine, and just as suspected, it kicked in very mildly. 2 out of 10 on the tingle scale. You know it's in there, you get some very, very mild tingles, and I'm talking very mild. So I do think that if you don't like beta-alanine, you would be okay with this product, but if you do love it, you're probably going to be a little bit let down, because obviously you'd want it to kick in stronger. But they are in that happy medium where it can appeal to both sides to a certain degree. In terms of the energy, obviously you've got that 300 milligrams of caffeine that's bolstered up by that guarana as well. And I would say it kicks in after about half an hour after taking the pre. It lasts about 2 hours and then it's gone. There's no crash, peaks, troughs. It's actually really smooth. Like it doesn't actually feel at all erratic. It definitely feels daily driver sort of vibes to me. So obviously they're saying hardcore pre-workout and intense energy. I think that if you've been around the pre-workout block to any degree, I don't think you'd really find it a strong pre-workout. Like, that's just the honest truth. Obviously, if you're a beginner and you've only used a couple or you're coming in completely fresh, then yes, you probably would find it strong. It's all person dependent. But for me, and I suspect for a lot of you, it will feel daily driver levels of energy. And that's not a bad thing. That just means that that's just, you've got to use it to its benefits. You've got to use it as a daily driver pre. So yeah, with that being said, there is no illicit type feeling to this product. There's no excessive jitters, mad heart rate, nothing nasty associated with it. And that actually leads me nicely onto the focus. As mentioned, nothing illicit, nothing euphoric or floaty or crazy, but it does actually feel very productive and dialed in. Like, I will give it that, definitely. You feel on the ball. Again, it just feels very straight down the line. It doesn't feel like anything crazy where focus is concerned. And now let's talk about the pumps. And I'll be honest, the pumps surprised me actually on this one. Like, they were even better than the label suggests. So I don't know if it's how certain things come together. I know they got a few bits in there for pump, but it feels like the pumps it's giving you in the real world that I've had consistently from this one outdo what it's suggesting on the label. So yeah, the pumps I would actually argue is possibly the best thing, with the energy and focus sitting just behind. So I honestly think it's one of these pre-workouts that's doing everything to a good degree, but just nothing outstanding. And equally, nothing terribly. It's just a nice, predictable pre-workout that gives you what you need to have an effective, predictably good gym session. Simple as that. And that's how I've found it every time I've used it. So obviously it goes without saying, there's no negatives, you know, it didn't crush my appetite, keep me up all night. As mentioned, nothing nasty associated with the energy side with regards to jitters or peaks or troughs and crashes. So yeah, it really is just a straight down the line, simplistic pre-workout in my opinion. And I know they are sort of going down the route of marketing it as something a bit more crazy than what it really is in reality. And we do see this quite often in the market of pre-workouts, because obviously they have to appeal to you, they have to jump out at you and look crazier than they are a lot of the times to grab your attention. So it's understandable, but it just isn't as strong as what you might perhaps think or assume. But I do think it strikes a nice balance between being a budget pre-workout and a fully fleshed out pre-workout. So I think it's good bang for buck ultimately. Like, they're not ripping you off. You're definitely getting your money's worth with this one. Like I mentioned, a 7.5 out of 10 on the price scale, and I'd argue that it is an above average pre-workout. So you're getting it cheaper by a large margin than an averagely priced pre for a better than average pre-workout. So that's why I can't really sniff it, I can't really say avoid it, but equally I can't say jump out and buy it. So for me, I would say ultimately it comes into the shortlisted category. If you're on a bit of a budget and you're after a simple pre-workout that gets the job done with not necessarily any frills to it or extra bells and whistles. So yeah, that is just the straight down the line truth of it. And as I sort of touched on in the label section, if I was to suggest anything to change about this pre-workout whilst keeping the price point still reasonable, I would say get rid of the AAKG and just whack up the L-citrulline to maybe 5 or 6 grams. And I would say up the beta-alanine to at least 3.2 grams. But obviously that's my personal preference. Like I mentioned, I know why they've probably done it at that dose to avoid putting certain audiences off. But yeah, I wouldn't honestly change all too much about it, to be honest with you. It's kind of on that in-between where if you want to do a bit of a compromise, you know, you want to get a relatively affordable pre, but still get the job done. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's got the balance right with this one, I think. So it's just going to depend what type of pre-workout you're after. But ultimately, I had a great session every time I used it. As I said, the pumps actually did surprise me. They were genuinely impressive. And the energy and the focus were above average, but not anything crazy. They were just good. You know, it gets the job done. It holds up for most gym sessions, and then it's gone after a couple of hours and you get on with your day. So it's now down to you to have a little think and see if that seems right for you. And we do also have their non-stim pump formula to look at called Donald Pump. It looks and sounds very interesting. So a review will be coming out on that on the channel very soon as well. So yeah, do stay tuned. And as always, stay stimmed.